What's up YouTube? I'm Sean and today I just want to give my honest experience working as a remote sales rep and coming from somebody who's actually made it in the industry, right? I've closed probably $2 or $3 million this year and I make well over 6 figures and I sell an actual good product. So I think just a honest opinion from someone who's actually made it in an industry is very rare. So that's why I want to make this video. I'm going to structure this video where I give you the proof, just to show you I'm not lying to you. I'm going to give you my background going into this so you can know what skills I had before I entered remote sales that made it easier for me. And lastly, I'm just going to give you some pros and cons so you can kind of decide for yourself whether this is right for you or not, you know? So let's just jump in. Alright, so this is basically the payment processor account that we use to process all payments. So you can see this is a rough idea of how much I've actually closed this year. So it's about 3 million. Shout out to my offer owner. He gave me access to this and everything. Let's just refresh so you see it's real. And also for all my Americans, right? This is euros. Euros is actually worth more than the dollar. So we look it up here, 3.2 million euros to dollars. All right, it's about $3.3 million. So yeah. So before I started remote sales, I did something called door-to-door sales. And door-to-door was, honestly, I can't complain. I honestly enjoyed the experience. I can't say the same for most people because I'm trying to recall here. When I first got into door-to-door, there were probably about 20 people who were in my group, right? And in 2 weeks later, I was the only one left. So I'm gonna assume that most people probably don't enjoy their door-to-door experience, but I did because I honestly saw it as it's really just a long walk where you get to talk to people, right? Obviously, if it's really hot or it's really cold, it kind of sucks. But if the temperatures are right and you're actually good at what you do, it's really not that bad, you know? And I'm a firm believer in the fact where it's like, if you would have made it in door-to-door sales, you would have made it in, remote sales or any other sales thing. Because door-to-door sales really, it sets the foundation for what you need in all kinds of industries, right? For example, fear of rejection. You've heard this one before. Door-to-door, like if you don't get past that, you're not gonna do remotely well in any kind of sales, right? The other thing is being able to navigate your ups and downs. I think door-to-door did a good job of teaching me that because you're going to have ups and downs. It's just inevitable, right? And sometimes it's not even your fault. But you have to treat it as your fault and kind of push yourself out of that rhythm. Because even if it's not your fault, you're going to feel like shit. You're like, oh my God, what am I doing wrong on all these things? If you don't know how to manage your emotions and manage, when you actually could be doing something better, you're not going to be able to get yourself out of what we call a rut, right? And these kinds of things still happen in remote sales. So door-to-door really laid the foundation for those two things. Now, I eventually left door-to-door because I had to go to college, right? And it didn't work with my schedule, You can have 4 hours in the day, but if it's in 4 different gaps, it just doesn't work. So I looked for different things that I could do, and remote sales happened to be perfect. In the beginning, I didn't even take it that serious, to be honest. It was more like a part-time job. I started as something called a setter. And eventually I worked my way up, but I saw that it was actually really scalable. I was like, wait, they keep increasing my commissions in this direction. All I do is I sit at home and I just talk to people. I'm only working 4 hours. If I ramp this up to 8 hours, I should make double, right? That's exactly what happened. And 3 times. It wasn't just double because I eventually moved up to be a closer. So from that point to where I am now, it's probably around 1.5 years, 2 years. So all this time, it's my honest experience with remote sales is that it's the exact opposite of what you'd probably expect sales to be. Because I'm just relating this to my door-to-door experience or just any sales job I ever had. The easiest part was finding the job. The hardest part was actually making the sale and actually getting good at that. With remote sales, the easiest part ever was actually closing the deals. And the hardest part was actually finding the job. So the reason for this, the best way I can explain this is because with remote sales, people are coming to you versus you going to them, right? Door-to-door sales, you go to other people and you try to get them to buy whatever you're selling. Remote sales, people are actively applying to you. And if you've ever seen, a guru like Iman Gadzhi or any real guru on YouTube, they always say, apply for my program, and if you're a good fit, we're going to work together, right? That's the exact frame that they hold, and that's why everybody who signs up for their program, they go to them. And the close rates go up to 60, 70, 80%, 90% even sometimes, right? I personally close around 80%. And you have to realize the offer owners are so selective because of just how high the close rates are, right? If you think about it, I close it at 80%. If we bring in another sales rep who comes in and closes at a 50% sales, close rate, right? It's not even that bad. 50% is pretty standard. but I close at 80%. This means that for every 10 calls that we give that guy, we're missing out on 3 sales. That's 12 grand right there, right? So super selective with who they choose. You're gonna find it's very difficult for somebody to give you a shot in this industry. And naturally, right, if you think all of that is a little weird, wait till this, right? Deals sell, right? You have a higher close rate in remote sales, the less salesy you are. It's pretty crazy. But I noticed from when I first started, I tried my door-to-door approach, right? I tried to talk in that tonality, tried to like sell in that way, and it doesn't work. And it eventually changed my entire approach to just be like literally having a conversation with people, which you probably heard before. But that approach works so well, and that's like probably the main reason why I was able to close, at 80% now. And this is probably the biggest struggle I see with new reps who come from door-to-door sales or other sales industries into remote sales is just their approach is completely wrong. They try to sell when, in remote sales, as cliche as this is, it should really just be about help. That's it, So I don't know, if you're entering remote sales, hopefully that helps you. Change your approach a little bit. I think that'll, really do the magic when it comes to actually making this work, No, this all might sound great to you, right? It's like I get to work from home, it's just hard to find an offer, but then once I sell, it's pretty easy. It's not that easy, this industry is still very cutthroat, I've seen people get let go on offers quicker than on door-to-door, Like when door-to-door sales, within 2 weeks, some people were out. With remote sales, I've seen people get let go same week, just because they didn't pass the actual interview process. They didn't even take a single sales call yet. And I talk to a lot of people who think about this transition, right? The transition from, door-to-door sales to remote sales. And my honest thoughts on that is just, I don't really think you should. For most people, it doesn't really make sense. If you want to do that just because you have a preference for working at home, if you have a preference for not being out in the cold or something, I hope you understand remote sales is not going to necessarily be easier for you. The same struggle, the same, I like to think of it like this, right? With everything you do, there's going to have to be, and excuse my language, there's going to have to be a pile of shit that you have to eat before you actually get good at that thing, right? With door-to-door sales, if you're just starting out, right, the pile of shit that you have to eat is getting used to rejection and finding a real approach that works for you, right? With remote sales, the shit that you have to eat is you're gonna actually have to find a really good offer, impress your offer owner, and once you get on the offer, impress the hell out of them, right? It's all shit, right? Each one of these industries has its pros and cons, right? But there's gonna be shit to eat regardless. And at the end of the day, if I'm gonna be honest, from where I am right now, I don't feel any difference between when I used to work door-to-door and when I work remote sales, Because it's the same, it's different hurdles, but the same exact feeling of challenge, okay? The challenge you're feeling right now with door-to-door sales, you're also gonna feel that challenge with remote sales. It's just gonna be a different challenge, So if you have an absolute need to switch to remote sales, sure, go for it, right? You have to work from home because you have a baby, right? If you don't have a need, I probably would not recommend it to you. Now, the one thing I will say that remote sales has really done for me, like probably the biggest advantage, right, is that it's given me time to work on other things. I remember back in my door-to-door days, even if, first off, you're working 8-hour shifts, right? At the end of those shifts, you're mentally and also physically exhausted. I just walked 30,000 steps and I talked to 10 people who just, flipped me off and just had an argument with, right? I'm not saying you should argue. But the point is you're physically and mentally drained. So if you have other shit to work on, let's just say you have another business you want to start, you have family members you got to take care of, whatever, you're not going to have the mental energy or even the physical energy to actually do that, right? With remote sales, it's not as mentally demanding, right? Once you actually get good at the closing process, it's pretty straightforward, and you don't have to walk all day. You're kind of just sitting on a chair, right? So it's not really that mentally exhausting, and it's also not really that physically exhausting. So I have plenty of time. Just, for example, working on my YouTube business here. So I would say this is also another key thing. It's like if you know that you have something else that you have to do, right, that you can't, right, like door-to-door sales is taking away from that, right, then yeah, maybe door-to-door sales for you, right? And this is also kind of the exact reason why I'm making this video, right? I've had all this free time in remote sales to kind of think about the business that I want to scale in the future, that I want to use to actually grow myself. And because of the flexibility, I've been able to start my YouTube business. And my YouTube business, I basically help people find remote sales offer. I help them skip all the BS, right? If you're already good at sales and you know that the offer finding process is gonna be the hardest process for you, I just help people skip that. And it's a win-win because I save them time, and then I also make money from the actual coaching part of things. For example, let's imagine you know that the only thing in your way, like you're a killer salesman, the only thing in your way is that you don't know how to find an offer, right? I know companies who are in my network who need salespeople. So if you're good at sales, I just connect you with them. You skip all the BS you have to deal with, and you instantly start closing for them, assuming you can do well. Let's just say you don't know how to do sales yet. Then I can basically just teach you sales, and I can give you the exact sales objection handles that I use to handle thousands of objections through like thousands of sales calls worth of experience. So if this sounds interesting to you, click the link below, sign up for a free call, and we'll see if it's a good fit to start working together.